Welcome to Rewitched, a charmed 1998 rewatch podcast. Join us on our journey as we recap, examine, and critique the series episode by episode from the beginning.
We'll be keeping our podcast spoiler free, so we welcome fans new and old to join us in watching and reflecting on one of our favorite shows.
Currently, we're on season 3.
I'm your host, Jess Sabanko.
And I'm your host, Mia Sobanko.
Now let's get into this week's episode.
This week, we're discussing season 3, episode 18, San Francisco. It originally aired on April 19th, 2001, and had 4.03 million viewers.
All right, so very exciting episode. One, because this is one of Mia's favorites, and two, because we have a guest today.
We do.
That's me. Howdy. So happy to be on.
So tell us about yourself.
Oh, I'm introducing myself. Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to give me a grand entrance or if I'm just popping in on this.
You're not that special.
I'm Joey Rinaldi. I'm a stand-up comedian in New York City. And as I was telling you guys earlier, I've been on tons of podcasts. I've been on comedy podcasts, movie podcasts, but never in my life have I been on a Charmed podcast. And I think this may be the most excited I've been to do a podcast ever.
Really?
Yay!
Because it's a guilty pleasure show for me that like I'm not like when I talk about TV shows with my friends, it's a lot of like The Office, Breaking Bad, Cheers, because it's a lot of Seinfeld actually, a lot of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So no one really ever gets in the nitty gritty of Charmed with me. So this is like kind of like my first time really doing it. So I'm really excited.
So are you like a super fan?
Definitely not a super fan because I definitely don't know much about like the fandom. It's a very private show that I like. And the way I got into it is the most unconventional way to get into a show ever.
And how is that?
My first job out of college, I worked for Pop TV. I don't know if you guys even know what Pop TV is. It's like the channel that made Schitt's Creek.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow, okay.
But most of their programming is reruns of old shows, especially like girly shows like Gilmore Girls and like The Nanny, just like girly type shows, Golden Girls. And I had the weirdest job. I had many jobs, but one of my weird jobs is that I would have to watch the show before we put them on TV and figure out how fast we can play it. Because if you watch like a rerun on a TV channel like TBS, there's sometimes like 0.1 second faster than the actual show. So this way they can pump more commercials in. They'll also take out like a half of a scene so they can like get more commercials in. So my job basically was to watch these shows and figure out how much we can condense so we can get more ad revenue into the time slot that we have to play Gilmore Girls, you know?
Interesting. Yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, like I didn't know it was a thing too, but now when I watch, people don't watch cable anymore, regardless. But like when I watch cable, usually like at a hotel, because that's like when you watch cable, I'll be like, oh my god, this is like I can tell that they cut that scene out or something.
And that's something I definitely used to notice, like rewatching things, because I've watched the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer a million times. And when I used to watch reruns on cable, I would notice that little parts of scenes were missing. And I'm like, I remember this being in here, but it's not there.
I've done that before,
asshole. I was the asshole. I'm sorry.
It was all you. Blame you for it.
Yeah, it was all me. And so like I'm in this job. I'm watching a lot of Gilmore Girls. I'm watching a lot of like House. I'm watching a lot of ER. Hating my life. And then we pick up all of Charmed, all 8 seasons, and I have to watch every episode. Like I remember my boss came into the office and she's like, Joey, this is all we want you to do. Like change all your plans. All you're doing for the next couple of weeks is binge watching Charmed. And I would have to, so after I would give my editing notes, the editors would send it back to me and be like, now watch it again and tell me if this feels too fast, too slow, if it's okay. Like, so I would have to watch the same episode like 3 times. And
oh my God.
And at first, I wasn't really loving it. At first, I was like, what are these witches doing? Like, are they sisters? Like, are they fighting people? What's happening? This is so weird. And then somewhere around like the
You're like, wait, that was interesting.
somewhere around like the ending of the first season. And I remember like, I was like, I'm so excited to pick up the second season. Like I remember, like I got invested. It just happened.
Right.
And I remember vividly, like my boss came to my by the way, I wasn't in like an editing lab or anything. They put me in a cubicle like in front of a lot of people. So people could see me watching Charmed, which is never a good feeling.
Just infatuated with the show.
Mainly with Alyssa Milano, but yeah, infatuated with the
Oh,
show. Alyssa
who wouldn't be?
Milano. I know she I'm in love with her. So anyways,
Aren't we all?
there's one day I'm at work and I totally like forget where I'm at because I have my headphones on. I literally had a bag of smart food popcorn. I'm just like chowing down on popcorn. And I look over to see my boss looking at me. And I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, you just look like you're having the best day of your life. I'm like, you have no idea.
It's a juicy episode today.
Yeah, I was just in my prime.
Wow, that sounds like a fun job, honestly.
It really was a fun job. I was really sad the day CBS bought Pop TV. I could have done that the rest of my life. I would have been so happy.
Yeah, that sounds like
No.
something I'd want to do. Sit there
That
and
sounds
watch
like a
shows all
dream
day.
job, honestly.
It's a job
Really?
that does not exist anymore, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I'm
No
sure.
one watches cable anymore. They don't need it.
No.
Yeah.
AI.
Wow. I love that.
Me
I
too.
love that background story.
So after binge watching it for this job, I haven't really revisited. So this podcast like inspired me, and it's on Amazon Prime, so I'm now gonna do the whole rewatch.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll text you guys updates. Don't worry, I'll send updates.
Let us
Good,
know.
good.
Yeah.
We want to know.
I'll let you know.
We'll have you back on the podcast for another one.
Ooh, hoping this goes well. Maybe after this, you're like, we got this guy off. This guy.
Yeah. Yeah, this is your test run.
So we start out and we're somewhere in the city. We see all these different shots of the city. Then we see Prue's car pull up on the street and her and Phoebe get out. And there's like this evilly thing nearby that Prue's talking about. And Phoebe's like, why did I let you talk me into this? I should be at home procrastinating my delinquent ethics paper, not chasing some wild goose. And Prue's like, wild demon. Okay, and I was scrying for unnatural activity. And this place came up loud and clear. Phoebe says, are you telling me you're actually looking for trouble now? Prue, what happened to putting more balance in your life? She says, I shot a magazine cover yesterday, I had a date last night, and then this morning I'm searching for evil. You can't get more balanced than that. And Phoebe's like, right, just your typical everyday Cosmo girl. She says, well, you and Piper don't need me anymore, so that leaves me plenty of time to help those who do. Ever since Piper got married and you hooked up with Cole, I just feel like I don't have to watch out for you guys as much. And Phoebe grabs her hands and says, Prue, this is a good thing. And she says, yeah. Then Prue notices something about the dumpster in the alley. They walk over and open it, and Phoebe gets excited about this coffee maker, but then they realize it's just a box. And she's like, see, I do need you. You just protected me from making a fool of myself. And Prue says, now there's a full-time job. And Phoebe's like, thank you very much. And they walk out of the alley and down the street, and Prue starts asking about Cole. And Phoebe says that he's been dodging bounty hunters, but showing up once in a while to hook up with her. And she's like, even though I'm really happy to see him, it's starting to raise old issues for me. Like, does he really love me, or is he just interested in my charms? And Prue says that he does, and he's risked his life to save her. It's not just sex. Then they notice some yelling and a magical fight in another alley across the street, and they start going towards it.
I'm not sure what the point of that whole dumpster thing was. Like, why she just randomly had a feeling like that's where the evil is. But it was a funny moment.
Do they address that she has like Spidey sense? Like, and like Spider-Man explains Spidey sense, but does Prue have like Prue sense that she just knows when a dumpster's gonna have some magical bullshit going on?
If she does, we've never addressed it before.
Yeah.
So this is
we've
the
never.
first time we've addressed that Prue can detect magic.
Yes, this is the first time it's been acknowledged. I mean, we know that she was scrying for it, so there was a reason why she found it. She didn't just sense it there. But then for her to be there and be like, oh, it's just somewhere in this area, and then just be like, I have a really strong feeling that it's just in this dumpster. Like, that's not ever something she's done before. She was wrong too, so.
The writing in Charmed really like takes liberties with like what their powers can and can't do. per episode, I feel like. And this episode, she can sense it.
Sometimes,
Yes.
sometimes it does. Yes, we've noticed things a time or two.
And
in
when
the
that
same place.
happens, we refer to it as plot's sake because
Yeah.
things will just change for that episode.
Yeah, they changed the whole dynamic of everything in the show and everything we've ever heard about their past just for a storyline. So get used to that.
Yeah, I just love that Prue is like, my life is like so busy right now. I did my job. That is my job. Like it's her job to shoot magazine covers. It's not like this is like a big ordeal for her. She's like, I did the bare minimum of my job, and then I
Yeah.
went on a date. Like, really? That's it? Go to the gym, like, try a new hobby. Knit, crochet a little bit. Like
Seriously, she could be
two
doing
things.
more. This
Two
is her
things.
new hobby.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think so. I think the reason they also even brought it up is because they've been so like hot and cold with what they're doing with Prue's character this season. And we just kind of had an episode where they had established like, oh, I'm gonna start, like I have to start focusing on me and becoming more having a well-rounded life where I'm not just focused on protecting my sisters all the time. So when they have her in a position where she's just like seeking out evil, it almost is like, wait, but now you're going back on everything you guys just said, So I think that's probably the only reason they even included that. But at least they're not, not acknowledging that ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And also the show's better when Prue is trying to take care of her sisters. Like that's like the crux of like her character. So anything to get her back into taking care of the sisters, I'm all for. So I dig it.
She could never not.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something that's always going to come up for her. And I mean, the one thing I'm noticing definitely here is like you were saying, they're really calling back to the last couple of episodes where she was like, I need to find a boyfriend and I need to like have more of a balance in my life. So like she's pretending that she's having a balance and trying to convince herself that she is, even though like you were saying, like she's doing the bare minimum. Like she's not really trying that hard to balance.
Yeah.
Totally.
Minimum.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm glad
Whatever.
you said that just now because I fumble my words all the time. So now you open the floodgates for me to just be myself. So
Oh,
this is
I
Oh,
do it. I do
God,
it.
you have no idea. We screw these up a lot. There's a lot that gets cut out of our podcast.
Phoebe and Cole stuff. So, interesting thing to bring up here. We haven't seen Cole in like 2 episodes. So, interesting to hear that, he's still around, they're still together, which is obviously because of something that's going to come up later in this episode that they have to remind us.
Yeah.
But I do like the way she's talking about this kind of raising old issues for her. I think the show does often portray Phoebe as the most kind of like sexually liberated sister. So the fact that they're bringing up this idea that like she is worried that Cole is using her is really interesting to me. And I like the way that like even though Prue's not a fan of Cole, she's very quick to be like, no, that's definitely not what's happening here.
Yeah, defending that they actually do care about each other, or like that he actually does care about her. And I get it though, it does feel very realistic because I feel like no matter what, like you could know something as much as possible, but like if signs are pointing in one direction, you're gonna have those insecurities and those doubts. Speaking for myself at least. I'm quite the overthinker, so I don't know
me
if
too.
everybody does that, but I can relate to Phoebe on this.
we've all dated a Cole once or twice. I get it.
Yeah. I've dated several demons. No.
Don't open my closet. It's full of demons.
All the skeletons.
All the skeletons, all the demons.
So now we're in this alleyway, and there are 2 guys. One of them is begging for one more, and the other one is telling him like that what he wants is no longer in the box. And the guy starts freaking out and stomping his feet, and the one guy's like, you can never get enough greed, can you? And then he throws him back with magic, and there's like sparks all over him. And Prue and Phoebe walk up behind him, and Prue's like, hey, and moves him into the wall with her telekinesis. And then both of them start going for the box, and Prue moves it across the street so no one can get it. Then Phoebe kicks the demon, and the demon says that that box belongs to Lukas. And Phoebe says, well, tell Lukas that it's been impounded. And then the demon teleports out. Then Prue goes up to the man and tells him, like, it's okay, it's over. But he's still hell-bent on getting this box. He says he has to have more. So he gets up and runs towards the box, and as he does, he gets hit by a bus.
So Hot intro into kind of like our evil of the episode. We're getting the idea that something is going on here. We don't know exactly what, but obviously Prue's scrying for unnatural activity did lead us to something. It just wasn't in that dumpster.
Exactly. Yeah, so obviously we know this is going to be kind of our big bad of the episode. We don't know what's in this box or why this guy was so obsessed with it, or who Lukas is, but I'm very excited to find out all of those details.
I just love that the guy gets hit by a bus, and this is like, I don't know, like we're like 3.5 seasons in, and at this point, how many times since these three sisters been united that them being together has led them to the scene of a crime, or let alone someone's death?
Almost every episode.
Almost every
Like-
episode, and I love that. Like at when like I don't want to skip ahead actually. Maybe you know what? Actually, my comment is for later, and I don't want to
Yeah,
skip too
whenever
far ahead.
we get to this scene or whichever scene you're talking about.
I just love their energy towards witnessing death, is what I'm trying to say. But I guess this is. the
Oh,
scene
yeah,
for
yeah.
that. You know what I'm alluding to.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're talking about. We can actually probably hop right over to that. I don't have too much more to say. It felt just like an intro, and we kind of like they're setting us up for something that we still don't know about yet, you know?
I guess
Yeah.
all I want to say is the box is all crystally,
Yeah.
and that could easily be crystal meth. Like I just think this is the episode. Like if we had to stop the podcast right here and I had to predict where the episode was going, I'm like, this is the episode where the girls, do heroin or crack
Yeah,
or
like-
something.
You know what? I wasn't thinking it, but
That's
now
so
that you said
good.
it, this is very clearly a metaphor for addiction, which we've seen some not so well portrayed ones in this show in the past. So it's
Yeah,
definitely
this-
happening.
This
It's
was
happening.
like perfect. You know, it's really see, Joey, this is why we bring you along, because that didn't even cross my mind either.
Mansplaining drugs to women is one of my pastimes.
So after that, we have the theme. Then we come back. We're on the street, and it's a crime scene now, and Daryl's there, and he's talking to the bus driver. Phoebe's being interviewed by like this other cop, and Prue's by the body, just super upset. Daryl walks over to her, and she asks if he found out anything, and he says that he thinks it was a suicide and that happens sometimes. And she disagrees. She says that a demon is what drove him into the street. Daryl tells her that the guy's name was Robert Pike. He had 2 kids, worked for Bregson Investments as a stockbroker. He was really successful. Prue says that the demon accused him of being greedy and that she wonders if there's a connection. And Daryl says that he wasn't like a typical stockbroker. He was more of a philanthropist. He actually hosted a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society the night before. And Prue says something must have changed in a hurry because when we saw him, all he cared about was the box. And she shows him it like inside her bag, and it's like glowing with like this white thing in the center.
So Daryl, our one and only cop in the city. Actually, we're about to be introduced to someone else. I'm very excited for this.
I know, another cop. I'm shocked.
I know. I thought Daryl was the only cop to exist in San Francisco. Whether it's hostage related, murder related, like anything,
Kidnapping.
all of the above.
He
Yeah.
covers all crimes, even though he works in the homicide unit.
Yeah. All bases.
Yeah, his pager must be crazy. Like it's just always going off.
Oh,
Cat
for
stuck in a
sure.
tree, murder,
Yeah.
home invasion. He gets it all.
Grandma fell down. Oh my god. This is great.
There's a cat in the tree. Call Daryl.
Yeah.
But
Anything.
I'm sure cats are connected to witches, so he probably would be there just to make sure the Hollowells were okay.
True.
Does he work for San Francisco, or does he work for the Hollowell sisters? Honestly,
He just does. Yeah. Just for them.
like I'm shocked that like there isn't more cop characters in the show in general, just because of like how connected they are to him and like how like he's always investigating their bullshit.
Yeah, covering up for them and everything. I do love that they have him as like one person that knows on the outside, so that like when they're doing these illogical things that most likely would get them arrested because people don't know what's actually going on, Daryl's able to kind of cover up for them. So it like fits well in the show that they do have a cop on their roster, but yeah, it is just funny that they have him there for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to have like the chief of police of San Francisco like pull him into a meeting and be like, I don't know what you're doing with these weird sisters, but cut it out.
Yeah, this has to stop.
Like it has to. 3 seasons in, you'd think other cops would notice. Like it's
We've
getting
always
weird.
talked about it too, where we want like a Daryl centered episode. Like just see what he does and how he goes about his day, you know?
A day in the life. I would love that. Would be such a fascinating episode and almost like necessary for like to to justify the rest of the show. But these writers, as we've talked about, do not care about justifying the stuff they do.
Yeah,
No.
not really. They seem to roll with the inconsistencies quite often.
I think this is more just kind of introducing us. I mean, we get a little background on the idea that he became greedy out of nowhere, which I think will connect to some stuff we'll learn later on. But I think that's the only other key thing in this scene.
I think they're just trying to point out, like, you know, oh, he was not a greedy guy. This is really weird that, like, he went from this really good father philanthropist and then all of a sudden does this. So obviously the demonic shit has something to do with that, is I think what they're trying to get across.
I just gotta say it. I don't want to be Brad Pitt right now, but I just gotta say it. What's in the box?
I
What's in the
know.
box? Right?
What's
Like,
the box? That's what
Okay,
I was
I got that out of my
thinking,
system.
too.
I've been dying to say that this whole episode.
I was
Not-
thinking the same thing. I'm
I
glad
just hope
somebody
I
did.
just hope Morgan Freeman doesn't die in this episode.
Funny because he actually does. So it's
No spoilers.
yeah. Didn't mean to give it away, guys.
And
All
now
right.
I just feel really stupid because I didn't even think about the Seven connection until you guys said that. So,
Oh, the whole
Oh
episode.
my
I was thinking of.
god, you're right. Wow.
oh my God. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you brought up something I wasn't even thinking of. So thank you for that.
I know, a second
That's-
time already.
I know. I think I got a few more up my sleeve. Hopefully before the episode ends.
Can't wait. So now Phoebe is talking to this cop and he's asking if the bus driver could have done anything. And she says, no, it happened too fast. And then he finishes the interview and asks for her phone number in case there's more questions. And she tells him that it's the same as Prue's. And then he asks if he could take her out to dinner. And she laughs and smiles, but tells him that she's seeing someone. And he says, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
So Phoebe's getting hit on by the cop.
Love it.
In the
Love it.
middle of like a murder scene investigation, that's phenomenal. What a guy. He said, let me just shoot my shot no matter the circumstances. This guy needs to get laid.
For me, I forgot that I was in San Francisco because that seemed like such a New York City cop move. like and he kind of has like a New York like edge to him the whole episode.
He does.
I feel like he seems very New York. I love that he hits on her because, as I mentioned, and I'll probably mention this throughout the episode, I this show made me fall in love with Alyssa Milano, and so I don't know why every male character in the show is not just hitting on her every second they have, and so I was like, yes, someone who gets me.
Yeah.
And he was very. It was the most relatable moment of Charm for me so far.
Oh, for sure. We're all in love with Alyssa Milano, let's be real.
Yeah.
I know.
Anything else to add for that one?
Well, the other thing I want to talk about is just the way Prue is like, oh my god, like the guy died, and then he was just like, there's nothing you can do. We're the Charm sisters. Shit like this happens all the time. Grow a pair, you know?
Yeah, like get
she
over
was
it.
just so,
It is what it
like-
is. So
like-
casual about it.
So casual, just like basically, it was like a wink. I felt like it was a wink to the audience. It's like it's season 3. We're over dead people dying at this point.
Yeah. We're used to it. People die all the time. I don't
people
care
die
anymore.
in San Francisco. It happens.
Don't care anymore.
And like I don't know why it like really like struck a nerve with me. I'm just like, show some compassion, some decorum a little bit. That's just how I felt. I don't know if that was impactful to you at all, but to me it meant something.
I mean, I guess the one reason I'm like, it's okay is because they did have that episode like 2 episodes ago where the whole premise was like, sometimes people are going to die and like we have to accept that death isn't an evil thing. So I'm like, okay, we're just accepting death now.
Yeah, now they've completely decided to go with that and just have us accept all deaths that happen in this show.
Yeah, stockbroker who's a
Philanthropist.
I can't say that word. Thank you for saving me. He's in a better place now. Who
Yeah.
cares that he has 2 kids or whatever?
I know. Fuck them kids.
Fuck those kids.
Oh my god.
R.I.P. to him.
Seriously.
R.I.P. Let's do a moment of silence.
You'll be missed dearly.
So then Daryl calls for the officer that was hitting on Phoebe and walks over to him. Then Phoebe walks over by Prue and she asks if Prue's okay. And Prue says she's thinking about what they could have done, and Phoebe tells her that they couldn't have saved him. We see the body get taken away, and Prue thinks that they need to find out what the box is, and then they need to find Lukas.
Solid plan, Prue. No shit.
Yep, pretty straightforward.
So then we go to Lucas's place, and Lucas is holding the demon up by his neck that we saw earlier in the alley and asking if he knows how important that box is. And the guy's like, I thought you were working on controlling your anger. And Lucas says that he is controlling his anger and then drops him to the floor. Then he pulls out this glowing crystal and says that it's the businessman's soul. And Lucas says that he needs to deliver 7 souls for 7 sins. And now he has to find a way around the witches to get the box back. And Lucas said, you know, my own self-destruction was supposed to bring me peace from sin. Instead, I am damned to spend eternity inflicting it on others. And the other demon says, gotta know the product to move it. Lucas says, I know the product. I know how sin warps human desire, which might be exactly the way to get to the witches. And then he realizes that he doesn't need the other demon and just like vanquishes him and wants to use the box or the sins to get to the siblings.
So obviously the whole drug metaphor is becoming a lot more obvious in this scene.
It's very
Warping
apparent.
human desire.
And I just like love that like charm. Like any moment where you think like I don't know what's happening, they're like, we'll have a character just explain the whole episode for you.
They really do. It's always like that. There's the exposition in here is crazy, like in all these episodes. So Lucas, let's talk about him.
Yeah, he seems like slimy, grimy, just like all the words my mom would use to describe friends of mine she doesn't like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I would describe him too.
Like
Like I
there's
wouldn't want to sit
nothing
next to him on an airplane.
No, there's
Yeah, not
nothing
a
about
chance.
his vibe that's appealing. Like it's very like first of all, he's super angry.
Yeah.
He's just killing people willy-nilly and he's just like creepy. Like he's very
Yeah.
like he's not approachable. He's not like one of those villains where you're like, "Oh, he's charming. Like I want to get to know him better." I'm like, "Oh, I want this guy gone."
Yeah.
Yeah, no comic relief, no sex appeal, and like honestly, like I don't even like logically understand. Like he just wakes up and he's like, "I'm evil." Like
Yeah.
there's no complexity to him. It's the most black and white character. He's just like, I have these sins and I'm gonna sin.
Yeah.
Like
Gonna give
it's-
them to people and destroy them.
yeah.
Like
It sounds-
I don't know.
Sounds like my ex-girlfriends if I think about it. Just sinful people who want to ruin people's lives.
Yeah. It's pretty much it. I don't know. This guy is something else. Like usually we'll have like even last time, sometimes we have these villains where we're like, oh, you know, like he's kind of appealing, like probably one of my favorite villains, you know, that I've seen. And then other times you just have ones like this where you're just like, God, I fucking don't like this guy at all.
Yeah, like there's some villains where you're like, if the dark evil portal reopens and he comes back for revenge, I'm like, that would be a fun episode.
Yeah.
But if this guy comes back for revenge, I'm like, oh man, like, did he at
Yeah,
least shower a little bit?
I
Did he
know.
at least clean
Yeah,
himself up
no
before
one's
he
looking
came?
forward to that.
No one's looking forward to it.
No, that's
No,
great.
it's like, "Oh, the return of Lucas, my favorite episode."
I also like love that like these demonic creatures just have the name Lucas.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
I at least like make it a biblical name, you know, make it like I don't know, like Abraham or something. But no,
Yeah,
it's just
Luke.
Lucas.
It's my boy Luke.
Yeah, just little Lukey.
Oh, Lukey Pookie.
Don't make him cute. Don't do that.
Oh my god.
So then we're in the manor in the entryway, and Prue and Phoebe walk in, and Prue's about to open the box, but Phoebe says that they need to go get Piper first, so she runs up to like go get Piper. And Prue's looking at the box. Also, I just want to mention Phoebe's shirt in this scene is so cute. Like it's that open like blue
Yeah,
one.
I
Obsessed.
loved it. I loved it.
I'm still thinking about it.
Is it because the boobs are really popping in that one?
I can't confirm or deny about the poppage of the breast,
Mm-hmm.
but I heard through a friend that's what they thought.
Right. I see. Yes. Fair enough.
So then we go to the kitchen, and Piper's like making sushi and like wearing a kimono and like really appropriating Japanese culture here. And Phoebe's like, "Oh, are we expecting company?" And Piper says that no, it's just lunch for Leo, and that she likes taking care of him and cooking for him and dressing up for him. She's like, "I was actually thinking of going out and buying him a whole new wardrobe, deflannel him a little." And Phoebe laughs and is like, "What, are you afraid you're going to lose him?" And like Piper's face gets super serious. And she's like, "Well, I'm certainly not going to give the elders any excuse to take him away again, that's for sure." Phoebe's like, "They wouldn't do that. You guys are married now." She's like, "So? There's nothing in those wedding vows that said they still can't break us apart. Besides, I don't want to be complacent about my marriage. Neither he nor they are going to find any fault in me." And Phoebe says, "Well, they might find fault in us. Prue and I lost an innocent this morning, so we need you."
Okay. I always feel like Prue and fucking Phoebe are so like hard on Piper sometimes. And I love that. Maybe because I'm a guy, I don't know. I thought that was a very sweet, cute moment of Piper just being like, I'm trying new things for my man. Who cares that we're married? I still got it, baby. And instead,
Yeah.
Prue's like, you gotta like not do this. Like, why are you so like insecure? I don't think it's insecure at all. I think it's like actually like just her having fun with her marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would be the same way. Like I think that I would, if I got married, like my first thought would be, holy shit, I'm gonna have so much fun with this. Like it's gonna be like when you used to play house when you were little, like how exciting that was and how much fun. Like I would be the little perfect housewife. I would love it. I would want to do that. Just for a little
Yeah.
while. It probably wouldn't last forever, but I'd totally start out like
Or
that.
like, or even if you don't do it every single month, but you wake up one day and you're like, today's gonna be a fun day. I feel like that's what it was for her. She was just having one of those days where she woke up and she was like, I'm doing something to turn this to keep this marriage going.
Yeah, and I
And
think
then
she
Yeah.
did.
Prue,
I mean, we know that Piper is very much a worrier, though. So I could see that, like, when Phoebe made that joke of like, "Oh, what are you scared you're gonna lose him?" And she was like, yeah, like, you know,
in general, I'm on Piper's side. Prue and Phoebe, I just like don't like the way they talk to Piper sometimes, and I'm just being defensive over Piper.
are you a middle child?
No, I mean, I'm the youngest boy in my family, but I have a little sister. My oldest sister is the true middle. I have four siblings. I'm one of five.
Yeah.
I'm the fourth.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. I don't know. It's just like Piper's always had that very much middle sister vibe where she's the middleman, the mediator, the one who like kind of calms the situations down, doesn't pick sides, doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And the other two are very much more like strong personality people. And as much as sometimes it's like, oh, I don't like the way they talk to her, it's also like, but they make up for that by like protecting her and always being there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just kind of fits with their characters to me.
I'll buy that. I guess you need conflict for a show to grow fine, and so I'll allow it if it makes the show better. But
Yeah.
I'm always defending Piper in my head.
No, I'm definitely a big like Piper fan. I mean, we've
Oh,
said this
yeah.
before on episodes, but like Piper is kind of the character I relate to the most. So I like seeing her. And I mean, I feel like she's really having fun here. I think it's funny how she's like, "Oh, I want to like make these changes, not just to myself, but like to Leo too for our marriage, like make him less in flannel all the time." Like, I think that's cute.
Yeah. I love it.
Yep, as somebody who dresses in flannel, I need someone to tell me what to wear every now and then. So it's great. Leo's life is amazing. That's my ideal setting, honestly.
Right.
Living with three girls that take care of my whole social life and wardrobe, and then I don't have to think about anything.
That's phenomenal. That does sound like a dream. I can't even lie. So then we move to the parlor and we see Prue sitting on the couch about to open the box. And Piper and Phoebe walk in, and Phoebe's worried about what may be unleashed if they do it. And Prue's like, whatever it is, I'm sure that we can handle it. And then Piper thinks that they should ask Leo's opinion first. So then he orbs in when Prue says his name. And Phoebe shows him the box and asks if he thinks they should open it. And he asks if they checked the book yet. And Piper thinks that's a great idea and is being like all like lovey-dovey about Leo, and Prue was being snarky about them wanting to ask Leo because we never needed his help before. And then she starts walking toward the attic, but she stops when Piper tells Phoebe that her professor called about their 2 o'clock meeting, and Prue tells her that she should go. You're too close to graduating to mess up now, and the 3 of us can handle this. And then she makes a comment that she should probably change into an actual shirt, and they all go up the stairs.
Yeah.
This is why Joey doesn't like Prue. He made her put a shirt on.
My least favorite scene of the episode. Easy. She was making her put a shirt on. She was being judgmental. She was slut shaming a little bit, which I'm anti slut shaming. Even before it was cool.
It's also just like, it's really funny that Prue's
It's
making that comment
hypocritical.
when so frequently Prue is the one in the most like inappropriate top for the setting.
Yeah,
I couldn't
she'll wear
agree
the
more. I felt the same way.
skimpiest outfits I've ever seen. And don't get me wrong, they're hot as fuck, and Prue's a bad bitch.
She's a
But for
bad
her
bitch.
to comment like that, come on, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility with the character dynamic in Charmed, and they were like, in that moment, let's make her slut shame for once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
like all of a
little weird.
sudden, what was it? Maybe like 6 episodes ago, Prue was like, I never want to wear a bra or wear a shirt that like is covering me. And then this episode, she's like, Phoebe, you should put on a shirt.
Yeah, literally.
But
She had
also
said that
back
because
to
that
the
was
whole,
with Natalie,
With Natalie,
right? Where
yeah.
Natalie was like, you guys can't wear this, you guys can't wear this, and Prue was like, okay, well then I don't have anything to wear.
well, maybe like that had like a lasting impact on her, where she was like, I gotta change my whole wardrobe. I gotta be more
Mm.
like her, and it got, like she got in her head a little bit.
It's
But-
really weird though, because Prue used to, like, in the very beginning season, she dressed very businessy. And like early on, you know, they portrayed her as like this like uptight hard ass, and just like progressively got her more and more like dressing skimpier and having more of a personality and things like that. Like, it's just so funny to think about the difference.
I bet that had less to do with the writing and more to do with the producers being like, the ratings are in. The people are saying they like cleavage. We got to get these bitches in more
Right,
cleavage.
sex
ASAP.
appeal. Yeah,
It was
let's
all for
take
the
these
views.
girls' clothes off. Come on.
They were doing it for the gram before the gram was a thing. That's all they were doing. But like the thing that back to me always wanted to defend Piper. Great example of Piper being normal, being like, hey guys, this box seems dangerous. I have a husband who like reads this shit. He like knows all about this mystical stuff. He goes to like different dimensions where people hang out and like talk about shit like this. Let's have him maybe do some research before we just crack this box open. And then the two sisters were like, no, let's open it. Like, it's fun. Like,
Yeah.
why?
Who cares? Let's do it.
At what point did it seem like even an idea at all to just open the box?
Yeah, just send it.
Yeah,
take
they
a
were full
risk.
sending.
It was very risky. So again, like you said, I respect Piper here. The little snarkiness from Prue is like, well, was he wrong to say, hey, maybe we should check the book that may tell us like whether or not this is going to be super dangerous or not?
Yeah. Like they literally saw someone jump in
Run
front of a
into the
bus
street.
trying to get this box, but we should just open
Right. I wouldn't do
Just
that to
open
me.
it.
We have magical powers. We're different.
Yeah, my vibe different. I don't know. And then other than that, you know, we have them calling out that Phoebe has to go to her meeting with the professor, and that's going to be important later too.
Yes. So then we're in the attic and they're on a page about the 7 deadly sins, and they find out that the box contains like these little balls of sin designed to corrupt paragons of good. Leo's saying that no one is immune to sin, whichever one you're predisposed to is the one that's going to attack you. And Prue says that the businessman must have been attacked by greed. That's why he kept wanting more. Leo says only his greed was magnified 1,000 times. And Prue thinks that her scrying worked because she was able to detect the sin working against his good nature. So Piper asks what they should do, and Leo thinks that if they destroy Lukas, the sins will lose their power. So as the infector, he was consumed by sin in life and in death became demonic. So Piper thinks that they need to make a spell to remove the sin from an infected human in case Lukas strikes again. But Prue says that you can't remove sin magically or otherwise. It's part of all of us. And Piper's like, even you? And she says, yes, even me. Just a tiny, teeny little bit. Nothing that anyone but me would notice.
Mm-hmm. Love that pridefulness in Prue.
I feel like I have a lot to say about her pridefulness, but I feel like I reserve my comments for later.
Yeah,
That's
I think
fine.
it's kind of that sneak peek that we're getting because they're talking about here how everyone has like predispositions to certain sins. So we're clearly seeing what Prue's is in this scene. No questions asked.
Right. And we've definitely always known this about Prue, that she does have like a little more of that kind of take charge, the leader, and what I say goes kind of vibe. And I love that they're just like kind of amplifying it in this episode, even before like the main thing happens that really brings it out, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with her starting off by being like, I know dumpster magic when I see it. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. I know there's something creepy going on here. Something freaky deaky.
Yes. And I guess the one other thing worth mentioning here is just the idea that's obviously going to come up later, which is that sin can't go away with magic. It has to be defeated in some other way. And we'll see what that is as we get into
Right,
the
once
episode.
we figure it out. So now back in the parlor, Lukas teleports in and picks up the box from the table. And Phoebe comes down the stairs and sees him. And he throws one of the balls at her, and she glows red and like gets infected. Then Prue, Piper, and Leo run down the stairs, and he throws 3 balls at them too, and they glow pink, orange, and blue. Then Piper thinks that they've been infected, and Phoebe wants to know what's going on. Prue asks if anyone feels any different, and they all say no. Then Prue says maybe we're immune because we're magical. And then Leo says that he'll orb up and ask. And then Prue and Piper are going back to the book, but Phoebe needs to go to her meeting and charm the pants off her professor. So she goes. So now shit's hitting the fan. They're all infected with sin.
Or are they? They just said they're magical. They're fine.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
they're fine. It's not a big deal.
Guys, we've already established this. Magic does not trump sin.
Oh, fuck. I forgot.
We know this.
And even though they just heard that, they were like, let's risk it.
Yeah, we'll be fine. We don't get infected like that. Not I. Couldn't be me.
And you
Definitely
know
not.
me, I'm just trying to fast forward to this next scene.
I know you are, yeah.
I just
He's
fast
ready to
forward.
move on.
10 seconds, 10 seconds. See, I keep hitting the podcast fast forward button.
Yeah, not too much to say here. Kind of setting up for what the rest of this episode's gonna have to do with all of them being hit with that and how that goes. And now Lukas has the box again, so they're gonna have to get that back and figure it out.
Yep. So then we're in the professor's office, Joey's favorite scene. And Phoebe's in a chair. She's like very slouchy. And the professor's walking towards her. He's saying, the problem is it's an ethics course. It's about the dialectic. So when someone misses as many classes as you have, it's hard to catch up. She takes a deep breath and like holds her head. And he asks if she's okay. She's like, I don't know. He's like, plus, you owe me a major paper. And if I don't get it soon, she's like, what are you going to do to me? He's like, I'll have to give you an incomplete. I'll have no other choice. Now, do you have anything to say for yourself? She's like, I'm not wearing any underwear. He's like, excuse me? Are you making some kind of joke? She's like, no, I'm serious, dead serious. And she gets up and moves closer. She's like, I've been a bad girl, and I'll do anything to make it up to you. I'll do anything to pass, anything. And she grabs him and they like roll over the table and like break a lamp, and it's just a lot.
This was hard to watch. I felt like, whoa, when did we switch to porn?
Okay, I'm so glad you said when did we switch to porn. I feel like I'm blushing right now. Watching Charm, so much times there's like cleavage, there's like weird situations that seem so close to being very sexual, and then TV plot happens and it doesn't get kid sexual. And there's so many times where like my brain is being like, please make this happen, please make this happen, please make this happen. And when I was watching this scene for the first time, I remember back in my work cubicle all those years ago when I was watching this episode, I was doing that thing I always do where I'm like, please just make this thing that seems obvious to happen. Don't just cut to the next scene. And then it happened. I remember thinking, I'm like, did I do this? Like, do I have powers? Did I make this scene become a porn scene? And I texted you this earlier, is that I feel as if like Saturday Night Live was to like make an episode, like make a sketch making fun of Charmed, it's like these are the Charm girls, you know? Their like parody version of Alyssa Milano's character Phoebe would be exactly this scene, like this scene in a nutshell. And
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
could see that.
yeah, and it's like they're like parodying themselves in that moment where I'm like, oh my god, she's literally doing the thing that it's almost like why I watch every Charm episode. I'm just hoping this would finally happen.
So happy about it, huh? Seeing her in that light.
I was like, oh my god, all my dreams came true. I have so many people I want to thank.
Meanwhile, as a college professor, this is literally my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna throw it out there. I don't usually mention this to people because it's awkward, but like, I have had students hit on me. It's the most awkward experience you could possibly have because, like, yes, you're an adult, but you're like an 18-year-old adult, so you're not actually an adult.
Yeah.
You were a child literally yesterday, still acting like a
Yes.
child.
Oh, it's completely different mindsets. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah, I can't imagine that. I mean, I'm used to like, but this is standard for like any girl, I feel like, where I'll be like, where I work, I'm a bartender, so I get all these fucking creepy old men, but that's like nothing new, you know? And
Yeah.
I think all
Yeah,
girls
that
go
probably,
through that.
I hope that leads to at least like a good tip, right?
More often than not, yeah. Actually just the other day, someone left me like a 50% tip, all because like for no reason at all. I barely talked to this guy. He just like wrote on it, "You should call me sometime," and left his number, and left a $60 tip because he wanted to like
I mean,
seem
that's
like a
better
hot
than
shot.
like the guys, because I know this would happen to Ashley a lot. Like when she worked at Applebee's, they would leave like no tip and then still leave their number on the receipt.
Guilty.
He said, "This is me." He said,
Everyone
"My
has
broke
that
ass
time.
does that all the time."
Applebee's? Are you kidding me? Why not? Shooters gotta shoot.
Fair enough.
The one other thing I definitely want to mention about this scene is just the fact that I want to make the obvious thing here. So they're using Phoebe to depict lust, but let's be so serious. If you really want to depict someone going through lust, it would be a super gross guy, not a hot girl. This is a fantasy.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
this is every guy's dream right here.
Yeah, so much of Charmed is not what girls would do, it's what guys wish girls would do.
Yes.
That's why we check sometimes, like, okay, who directed this episode? Who wrote this? Was this one from a guy that made this, or was it a girl? Because sometimes the way they depict like different relationships, or just the way women act, the way women talk, the way they act in relationships, and the way siblings act towards each other even gets a little like they're trying to do some lesbian love scenes in here. Like who's putting this in the show?
So I'm convinced the story of this feels like a very like women story, because I feel like a lot of women like the whole like deadly sin thing, like witchcraft. And then I feel like a guy was like, I like that story, but we need to add horny stuff to this. Like
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Can we make it hornier?
I think that's exactly what happened. I think it was a girl's story that got totally ruined, and by the end of it, she was like, "This is not my script at all."
Yeah, I didn't make this. Like, wait a minute, why is everybody naked? I never agreed to this.
Not again. Come on, Charmed.
Oh, that's great. So then we go to the kitchen back at the manor, and Piper's on the phone ordering a bunch of expensive designer clothes. Then Prue walks in saying they don't have much time, but Piper says, like, I'm busy on the phone. And she tells them to put $5,000 on one card, and then Prue hangs up the phone for her and says she's saving her credit rating, which is her life. And Piper's like, Leo needs suits. And Prue says, Leo doesn't wear suits. And she's like, yet. Then she starts drinking from a champagne flute, and Prue's like, are you drinking in the middle of the day? Piper's like, I was a little bummed about this sin thing, so I thought I deserved a little indulgence. Would you like a bit of bubbly? And she's like, no, I would like a little bit of help. we are supposed to be tracking down Lukas. And she's like, sorry, catch me up. Then Prue tells her that the sin balls work fast, and once they hit, they have a few hours before, like, total self-destruction of the person. And Piper's like, well, it's a good thing we weren't infected then, huh? As she's, like, stuffing her face with chocolates. And Prue's like, right, but now that Lukas has the box, the question is, who will be? And she tried scrying for unnatural activity, but it kept landing back at the manor. Then Phoebe walks in and sits at the table, and she tells them that her ethics professor kicked her out of class, and Prue asks her what happened. She's like, I don't know. One minute I was telling him why my paper was late, and the next thing I knew, I was unzipping his pants with my teeth. Then Piper gets up, and Prue says, Phoebe, you do know that charming the pants off someone is just a figure of speech, don't you? Then Piper walks back over with a pie and a fork. And Phoebe's saying she doesn't know what came over her, and she's glad she realized before, she did anything. Then Prue is watching Piper, and then she realizes what's going on, and says that Phoebe was hit by lust, and Piper is hit by gluttony. Then Piper calls for Leo, and Prue's like, oh no, Leo's not up there. He's in the living room watching TV. I love this scene. This is great.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
I love just like Piper here, just like overdoing everything in every aspect, like gluttony to the fullest. Like she's shopping for everything, stuffing her face, drinking a bunch, and like she just plays the character so well. And it does fit with her. Like each one that they have go with like you said, the predispositions of sins that they already have. The only thing is like Leo's sin, so out of nowhere. It's just for comedic effect.
I was gonna say the same thing.
No connection. It's just for comedic effect.
Yeah, I really agree with that too. Like, I did not feel like connected to Leo's plot line at all this whole episode.
It was just like funny,
Yeah.
It was really funny and so out of character. And it's like, obviously, he's not a human per se, Leo, to begin with. But it was just funny because I was like, for the first time, I'm like, oh, he's not like this like perfect angel-esque person. This is the first time I'm like, oh, he's relatable. Like that's
I was about to say, this is the first time I've ever related to Leo so hard. Oh, but we're not even there yet. We're like
oh, we're
skipping ahead a little bit, but it's all right.
That wasn't you. I did that. I started that. It just crossed my mind. But yeah, the other girls, like I said, it works for their predispositions, and then Prue being the only sound one for the group is interesting.
Yes. And I'm interested to talk about what that kind of means for Prue's general character a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that just going off this scene, really just what we're seeing is the fact that they've all obviously been hit by the sins and they're realizing it.
Or choosing not to realize it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Choosing not to care because it's overtaken them.
So then we're in the living room and Leo's laying on the couch, just like kicking back. And the sisters walk in and Piper's like, something is wrong with this picture. You need chips. I'll go get some. So she leaves. Then Phoebe wants to watch MTV for Carson Daly because she thinks he's hot. And Prue turns off the TV and tries to get them to focus. She's like to Leo, what did they say about Lukas's attack? And Leo's like, I don't know. I didn't make it up there. I orbed halfway up and I got tired. After 60 years of constant vigilance, I think I deserve a little downtime. Then Piper comes over with his chips, and Phoebe's leaning like really close to him. And Leo's like, thanks, sweetie. I'm going to be thirsty soon. And Prue's like, I'm going to be ill soon. Then the doorbell rings, and Piper goes to get it. She opens the door, and these two guys come in with a bunch of flowers. Then Phoebe walks over and starts hitting on them. And Piper says that she sent the flowers to herself. And Prue kicks out the two guys, and Phoebe's like, why'd you do that? And Prue points out that they're all infected. Then they're back in the living room, and Piper's like, how did I get gluttony? I don't overeat. And Prue's like, no, but you overdo. The sins are drawn to our predispositions, and lately yours has been excess. Phoebe's like, what sin did you get hit with? And Prue's like, well, I didn't get hit. Phoebe's like, I saw you get hit. She's like, well, I must be strong enough to fight it off. Thank goodness. One of us has to keep our wits about us. Then she notices the TV talking about a hostage crisis and tells Leo to turn it up. And we find out that there's a SWAT team at Bay City Motor Cars where a pastor has a hostage and wants a Jag XKA convertible in British racing green. And Prue thinks that the pastor must have been infected with envy, and they need to stop the demon from stealing any more innocent souls. So she grabs Phoebe, and Piper wants to stay with Leo. She's like, fine, I'll just do it all by myself, but literally brings Phoebe with her. And they go. Then Piper says to Leo, do you think she's mad? And Leo's like, probably. And then he scoots over on the couch and they kind of like lay together, and she changes it to the home shopping channel and then asks him for the phone.
I love how even here they're so cute together.
I know, like they're so coupley. It's like, oh, let's just lazy on the couch together.
This is what, so like I said, I've never related to Leo so hard. Like, this is pretty much what I do every single day, all day long of my life, unless I'm working. So I really felt him in this scene. Like, if I was going to be infected, that would be my predisposition. Like, I would be sloth to the max.
That like
For
literally
sure.
describes how me and my girlfriend hang out. Because I'm always on the couch just watching TV, and we're like, we're drinking beer, wine, whatever. And then she's like on her phone, being like, "There's a concert coming soon. Should we buy tickets? Wait, do you see this Instagram outfit? Should I get it?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, and that's like, so I also relate very hardcore to that whole situation too.
This whole dynamic is a
Totally.
life story.
I
And
love it.
also, I also just love that it's not just anybody who is robbing a car dealership. It is a fucking
pastor?
pastor. It's a pastor, and I love that. Like that, Prue is like, there's a problem with the law. It's connected to us. Everything's connected to us.
Yeah. I mean, she wasn't wrong, but
Whoa, spoiler! Jesus Christ.
my mistake.
The pastor would be pissed at me using the Lord's name in vain.
I think the pastor's only got that Jag on his mind right now.
Also, another thing about like inconsistency or confusion of the show, he was like, Leo was like, "Oh, I was orbing, but it was got me tired, so I came down." I thought orbing was like instant. Is it not instant?
You kind of like go up. It is pretty instant. I don't, that's something that they are very iffy with. That's one of the things that I don't know how consistent they are with it, you know?
Okay. Well, if you find out more information, let me know.
You got it. Aside from that, I love like just this whole scene, like everybody starting to feed into their sins a little more and more. It's like really funny, comical. Obviously, we know that Prue's the only one who's like sane enough right now to try to figure out what's going on. So I'm looking forward to seeing like what she does here and why she would take Phoebe, because Phoebe is
Yes.
not well
And I
to be around men
also
right now.
like how she was literally like, I'll do this all by myself, and then drags Phoebe with her. Like, is Phoebe nothing to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a comment about Phoebe that's relatable to this scene, but I'm gonna wait for a little bit longer.
All right.
Okay.
The
Don't
one
forget.
other thing I want to say in this scene is that Phoebe leaning in close to Leo on the couch was giving me major season 1 flashbacks to when she used to hit on him, and it made me very uncomfortable. That's all I'll
Yeah,
say.
yeah, not a fan. And it just gets worse.
Spoiler.
Well, sorry to hear that. So now we're at Bay City Motors, and the SWAT team is standing all around the building, and Prue, Daryl, and Phoebe are walking up. Then Prue wants to handle it, and he's like, it's a public situation, can't just let her handle it. And then she says, would you rather me astral project myself in there? And he's like, come on, Prue, you're not being reasonable. Then Phoebe spots the officer from this morning and starts waving to him, and Prue wants her to focus on the innocent. Then Daryl says that they need to let the hostage negotiators handle it, and she asks what their plan is. And he says the plan is to talk the pastor down and wait him out. And Prue says it won't work if he's been infected. Then Phoebe walks away, and Daryl asks what Prue would do, and she says, well, there's only one thing to do, and starts walking in towards the building. And Daryl's like, everybody's like, what the fuck? And Daryl tells everyone to hold their fire, and she just walks right in the door. Prideful Prue. That was a bold
Prue's
move.
really just like going for it in this scene.
I know, that was very fiery of her. So here at this point, we don't even know for sure whether or not she's been infected. And we're kind of see her progressively get a little more intense in some ways. So
Yeah.
as much as she'll deny it here.
I just love that she just is going for it. And
Yeah,
as
the leap
annoying
she
as I
took.
find Prue, I actually kind of like this side of her. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to be told what to do. You fucking do what you got to do, and I support it.
Yeah, this is a strong woman. She's just gonna go right in there.
She really is. That's what she does. I mean,
Oh,
not typically, but
So then we're inside the dealership, and the pastor is pointing a gun at the hostage, saying that he can't wait much longer. And Prue walks in and says the pastor's name, and he like turns and points the gun at her and is like, "Who are you?" She's like, "I'm here to help, but I cannot do that unless you put the gun down." He's like, "Get out of here." She's like, "I just want to talk." He's like, "I just want my Jag. Do you want me to shoot you too? I swear I will." And she starts to say that he's infected with sin. And then she tries to use her power to move the gun away from him, but it doesn't work. It just like moves very slightly. And he fires it. And then we cut outside where everyone is super freaked out because they heard the gunshot. And Daryl grabs a megaphone and starts calling for Prue, asking if she's okay, and gets no response. Then in the doorway, Prue approaches with the hostage and tells them that everything's under control. She's like, the guy needs medical attention, and the pastor's inside. She kicked his ass, so he needs some medical attention too. Then the whole crowd starts cheering, and these news reporters all come up to her. She's like, the name's Hallowell, Prue Hallowell. And they ask why she ran in. She's like, well, it's my job to protect the innocent. And they ask if she works for the police, and Daryl runs over and interrupts, saying that she's just a very good Samaritan and pulls her away. Prue's like, why'd you do that? I was just getting started. He's like, you were about to hang yourself. You shouldn't be talking to the press. She's like, why not? He's like, because they'll destroy you. What's the matter with you? She's like, nothing can destroy me, Daryl. Then he notices that she's bleeding, and the bullet must have grazed her, but she didn't feel it. She doesn't think it's a big deal, and Daryl says, I've never seen you run away from danger before, but I've never seen you run toward it either. What have you got, a death wish or something? She's like, it does sound kind of self destructive, doesn't it? Oh, that means I've been infected. That must be why I can't control my powers. And he asks what's going on, but she says there isn't time to explain, and that he needs to take the pastor to a psychiatric hospital to keep him safe, but not to let anyone know he's there so the demon won't find him. And then she starts to go try to find Phoebe.
if Lukas can track the box and know where like the sin balls are, if the sins are in these people, then shouldn't he be able to like locate these people at any time?
I felt the same way. I was like, who cares if they tell everybody or nobody? This guy's going to be found and killed ASAP.
That's what I thought. Like this guy shouldn't like he should know. I don't know. But I guess he can't. He can only sense the box itself.
Maybe he can only track them when they're like separate. Like when it's in somebody, he can't track the person, but like when it's just the ball, he can like follow it.
Maybe. It's not like we ever really get an answer, so
Yeah, there's so many like uncertain things here. Like first off, like does Prue feel bullets generally? Like is she like is her power makes her invincible kind of, or like is it the
it's the
sin that's
pride
making
thing.
her the pride makes her not feel bullets? Like I feel like a grazed bullet is like enough to go to the hospital, be in pain, no matter how sinful you are.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But she was just so like focused on
Adrenaline.
her glory, you know, that she couldn't even think about that.
I guess adrenaline's a drug. I guess that could like be it.
Yeah.
Definitely Bruce.
I mean, I like the way that when she was in the room with the pastor, she's like so convinced that she can do anything, right? We're seeing that pride. We're seeing the way like she doesn't think anything bad will happen to her. And then, of course, the same reaction when she walks outside and is talking to the press. Like, there's just no thought of consequences for her. Like, she
Right.
just is like, whatever I do, everything's going to be fine. Like, she just completely does not give a fuck right now. And it's that same thing that she says to Daryl, right? Nothing can destroy me. And I like the way that he points out to her, like, this isn't you. Like, yeah, you'll do what you have to save people, but you don't usually seek out this danger.
Right.
Which is
like
interesting because we saw her seeking out danger at the beginning of the episode by hunting for evil.
Ooh.
Wait, that is such a good plot hole.
Interesting.
Like,
yeah, nice connection.
That whole Daryl statement was to be like, you're so different now.
Right.
Something's different. And you're so right. Back in the beginning of the episode, when she was not in the sin ball, she was looking for danger.
Yeah.
And so it's a plot hole, and I just think she's cooler with the symbol. Like I overall, I'm not against any of their personalities right now.
Yeah.
Especially Phoebe's.
Well, yeah, but I guess I'm against Phoebe's only because I want her to feel that way only for me and nobody else. So
Oh, I
it's
see.
it's still conflicted.
A little jealousy. I see.
I have a
So
lot to
your
say about
sin is
Phoebe.
envy right now.
Yes.
Ooh, look at you. So now we are in this police van, and Phoebe and the officer are inside making out. And she starts like opening his shirt and pulls out a bunch of condoms and ripping one off with her teeth. Then Daryl and Prue open the doors, and Daryl's like, "Officer," and Prue's like, "Phoebe." And like Daryl grabs the guy, and Prue grabs Phoebe, and like they pull her outside. And then Prue puts Phoebe's vest back onto her and like tie her shirt and asks her if she's out of her mind and says that her sin is not nearly as fun. And Phoebe's like, "Wait, your sin? I thought you didn't get hit." And Prue said, "Well, that was the pride talking, and it almost got me killed already." And Phoebe's like, "Pride? You don't seem all that different." And Prue says, "Oh, really? Well, back at ya." And then she says that they need to go home and find the demon, and Phoebe says that she doesn't want to, but she like grabs her and makes her go with her.
So I feel like Phoebe, it was happening before this scene, but I feel like from this scene and then like without giving spoilers away, just like who she is in the rest of this episode. Do you guys remember like your like first like couple months in college where like there's always that moment where like you go to a party and like your female friend will get too drunk and you're like, okay, we gotta get you home, like we gotta get you back to the dorm, and like getting her from the party to the dorm room is like a whole ordeal because if you like get your
Such a
eye off
task.
if you get your eye off the girl, she starts making out with some guy and you're like, oh, that's my friend, I'm taking her. And then the frat guys, of course, like, we're making out. Don't take her from me. I'm like, no, you don't understand. She's not good right now. And then like this happens like 5 more times leaving the frat house. And then like before you know it, like 5 different people made out with this girl. And you're like, I'm just trying to take care of her. Everyone leave her alone. And I feel like this is Prue and Phoebe's like relationship right now. Like Prue's just trying to get her home. And Phoebe's just like, man, I need to make out with all of them.
This has quite literally never happened to me. I didn't go to college, so I have
Oh, this is
no
like
idea what that experience is like.
No,
did you go
this
to
is
college?
like a regular experience. Like I would go out to the bar with friends and there'd be like 1 or 2 friends where I'm like, we came here together. Like I was trying to hang out with them. Now, next thing I know, they're super drunk. They're making out with random guys in the corner. I'm like, I want to go home. Like, let's get out of here.
I guess I can kind of relate to that, but like not in
And
the
like
frat
every guy
house,
thinks
just
you're a
at
bad
bars.
person for just being a good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like the way the cop like feels in this scene is like I've seen that look on frat guys. I'm like, I know that look so well.
Yeah. Like, come on, dude, what are you doing? Pulling me away from this.
But also when Daryl's like, officer, like, it's
I
just
know.
so
The way he said it
It is really fucking
was
funny.
really funny. Officer. Oh, that was good.
Also, I love when like Phoebe calls out Prue. She's like, "You're not even that different."
Yeah.
It's true. She's the least
And then
different
Prue
character.
just bam hits her right back with the "yeah, you either, bitch."
But like Phoebe is being very different. This is
Yeah,
not
I
how we
know.
see Phoebe acting.
Oh my god, no, of
totally.
course not.
Phoebe and
Piper.
Piper, I feel like are being very different. And of course, my main man over there is also being weird as hell. Too.
Yeah, Leo.
Yeah.
Weird as
Who
hell.
knows what he's doing?
Probably sleeping.
True. So then we're like outside in this other little area, and Daryl and the officer are standing together. And Daryl's like, not only in the middle of the day, but in the middle of a crisis. And the guy's like, look, she attacked me. I swear. I didn't have a choice. Well, not much of one. And Daryl's like, that's a pathetic excuse. You're an officer, for crying out loud. He's like, what did you want me to do? Shoot her? And Daryl tells him that he's suspended and to go turn in his hardware. Then Daryl walks away and the guy's just like yelling and being ridiculous. And then Lukas appears behind him and tells him that anger is one of the 7 deadly sins. So he infects him and we see that the box is empty.
I love like Daryl here. When he says not only in the middle of the day, but in the middle of a crisis. Like, since when is having sex in the middle of the day like the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my life? Like,
Yeah, the early was this the early 2000s or 90s? Early
2000.
This
2001.
was 2001.
Okay, so like late 90s, early 2001, everyone knows you can't have sex in the middle of the day. That was the worst thing you could have done.
No, I mean,
Right.
come on. You're watching TV. You
Classic.
know what happens in shows. If you have sex, you immediately have to go to sleep and not wake up till the next morning. That's what happens. And it has to be at night. It can't be in the middle of the day.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I
you're
feel
not
like
allowed.
I
And
feel
if you
like
do have sex, you don't wake up and put on something comfortable or anything after. You always pick up the guy's button up and wear that.
Exactly.
yes.
Everyone knows this.
But also, I just want to point out, like, okay, we have a guy on the podcast today, so I'm trying not to be too much of a man hater, but like,
Be a man hater. Hate the men.
when he's like, why is this how men act? Like, if a girl hits on them, they'll be like, I didn't have a choice. I had to do it. Like, what?
It's so true. It's so true. And it pisses me off. Like, that's
No,
always
wait.
the excuse.
Wait, can I give
Always
the dumb guy answer? Let me give the dumb guy
Go for
defense is
it.
this. Dumb guy
Please.
defense is because animalistic, we're meant to spread our seed. So
Oh,
if a
God.
female is trying to engage with us, our animalistic takes control and blah, you know?
Ew. Oh, no, but this is definitely this is a man hater moment. Sorry to say, but that's just the way it is.
Men suck. I have lots of friends. They suck. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be better. I have two sisters and my girlfriend who are trying every day to make me not that. And I think my recovery is on its way.
I'm very proud of you for taking the steps that you should in order to
Yeah.
become a decent
Yeah.
human being.
Yeah, I'm gonna get nuded in the spring, I think.
New.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
yeah, I'm gonna
There's
get fixed.
there's there's a good plan right there. Oh my god. So now we move back to the manor and we're outside, and then Prue and Phoebe are on the porch, and Phoebe's mad that they couldn't stop by the fire station for a look-see. And then Prue says that her and Piper need to get their sins under control. And they open the door, and the house is like filled at every inch with boxes and a bunch of stuff that Piper bought, and it's everywhere. And in the entryway, Piper walks over and sees them, and she tells them to come see all the stuff she bought, and basically that she used magic to make it all come to the house so fast. And she's like, I couldn't wait 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. And then Prue's like, that's so personal gain. And Piper's like, no, because we need all this stuff. And then Phoebe just wanders off, and Prue is telling Piper that she's misusing magic. And then Piper turns on the fountain and just like does not give a single shit about what Prue's trying to say. I think Piper
So-
plays this character so goddamn
Oh my
well.
God,
Like, she is
amazing.
nailing it every time. Like, she's just so like a little girl, so happy about like all this stuff.
You know
It's
what?
actually kind of adorable.
That is something I wanted to talk about in this episode. Is that there's a lot of episodes in Charmed I feel like where like something will happen, whether it's a spell, a trance, where a character will have to be different.
Mhm.
And I really think it shows like even though these are like it's a dumb like witch like drama show whatever.
Whoa.
They actually,
Whoa.
they're actually like great actresses. No.
Get off our podcast.
No. I feel this way about Smallville too. Like Smallville was also CW or whatever.
Yeah.
WB11, and like people make fun of WB11 CW. I can't keep up Freeform, whatever it is on. Like people make fun of those type of shows like Pretty Little Liars, but there's moments in shows like this where like you'll be like, wait, even though it is a quote unquote dumb show, there's like serious acting happening here. And I feel like when they get whether it's the sin ball or a magic trance and these characters have to be different, I'm always blown away with like how well they do it.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, it's not, I totally agree. And that's actually something that we point out all the time where we're like, wow, these like you have to acknowledge that they are actually amazing actors. And to act as like all these, like portray all these different types of characters and all these different types of people, and to do it so unbelievably well
Regularly.
every time, like, that's fucking impressive. Like, you're good, you know, you're good at what you do.
Yeah, no, we see like guest actors come on sometimes and they're not good, even in the small part they're playing. But like we consistently see like the main cast of this show pulling off some really amazing things.
Exactly. And I love it. Like, props to them.
Hell yeah. I'm glad we're all in cahoots on that. And I'm sorry if I wasn't calling Charmdom as me. I was saying it from like the mass population outside douchebags, toxic
No, I
men
know. I
that
was
we
just
hate.
kidding.
And honestly, I will find the names and addresses of those
Oh,
people and I'll
do it.
kick their asses.
Do it. He's like, I
Do
take
what
it back. I take it
Prue
back. I
did
never
to the
said that.
pastor.
Seriously.
So Piper invented Amazon Prime in this episode. Quick delivery.
Yeah, seriously. It really is like magic.
But other than that, I mean, we're really just seeing more of their sins, pushing the plot a little bit forward. And yeah.
Yeah.
So then we're in the living room and Leo's still laying on the couch and Phoebe walks in and she's like, "Hey, Leo." And he's like, "Shh, I'm watching TV." She's like, "I know something more exciting than television, me." And she lays next to him and starts like untying her shirt. And then she turns off the TV and Leo's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he starts leaning over to try to get the remote from her. But then like Piper walks in and they're kind of like on top of each other. And she's like, "Phoebe." And Phoebe's like, "What? Prue won't let me leave the house, so I have to make do with what I have." And she puts
Gross.
her hand under his chin, and Piper's like, "Get your slutty hands off my husband." And Phoebe gets up and she's like, "Make me." Piper's like, "Gladly." And she picks up like this bust and is going to hit Phoebe with it, but then Prue comes and takes it away from her. And she reminds them of the demon and the innocent, saying that there's still one more sin. And Prue tells Leo to go ask the elders what they know, but he says he's too tired. And she starts hitting him and telling him that it's his job. And he's like, "Why? You never listen to me anyway." Which, fair point. And then he's like, "I think I'm going to orb upstairs and take a nap." So he does that. And she's like,
They
"Fine,
orb
who needs
upstairs.
you
They can't orb
anyway?"
to the elders.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
too
Too
far.
much. Too far up.
So she's like, "Fine, who needs you anyway? We still have the power of 3." And then Phoebe starts looking at like this men's magazine that has like a centerfold, and Piper starts playing with boxing gloves.
I was
Again, such a
so
good scene.
confused by the boxing gloves because I was like, is she about to like continue fighting Phoebe right now? Like I really
She's
saw
just
like
so infatuated by all her new items.
and I was also like so mad at Prue in that moment because she broke up debatably one of the potentially hottest cat fights on television. And so I was hurt by that. But before the cat fight even happened, I was mad that they wrote that scene in the show because I feel like Leo and Piper's relationship is such a beautiful flower, and having a scene where Phoebe's hitting on him, just like it felt icky. It just felt wrong. It just something I didn't need to see as a person who likes the show.
I know. I hate
Yeah.
when they include things like that because it's very weird, and that's quite literally what they did. I really like when all four of them, the moments we have where all four of them are together and like all of their different sins are showing through. Like it's such a fun moment to see all of them act that way.
Yeah.
It's just it cracks. It's more just entertaining right now. There's not so much like real shit going on to talk about here.
Yeah.
So now we're outside of the police station, and the officer walks to his car looking pissed off, and Lukas appears and asks if he found out where the pastor is. And he's like, "No one will tell me." And he starts freaking out on him, and then is in like has really bad chest pain. And Lukas is like, "Anger's the worst, isn't it? Especially when the burning rage saps you of all your strength and reason, and the relentless scream blots out all hope." What a fucking piece of dialogue that was. He said, "Use it against the Hallowells. Make them tell you where the pastor is." And he hands him a gun and says, "Trust me, anger always feels better when it has a target."
Wait, he didn't hand him a gun. He took his gun and then was like, "Here's your gun back."
Yeah, oh yeah. He like pulled it from his waistband and then put it in his hand.
So much sexual tension in that
I know,
scene.
there's the sexual tension between Lukas and the officer right
They
now.
should have been making out.
I know.
I had a film professor in college once tell me anytime there's a gun in a movie scene, it symbolizes a penis. And I'm like, nope, I think
Now I'm never gonna be able to get that out of my mind.
that
He's
No,
ruined all movies for me.
no, I was just like, no, I think that's your belief, and you want your students to believe that, you sick son of a bitch.
That's hilarious. But we got our final sin out.
Yep.
on our boy, on this fucking hot cop.
Is he
And
hot?
I think so. Yeah, he's hot.
I don't think he's hot.
He's totally hot. He looks like a slightly less attractive version of Julian McMahon.
Please never sin in that way by saying those words ever again.
It's so true though. I think he's hot.
Okay,
He-
well
he's
that leads me
alright.
to my next. That leads me to my
I'd
next
smash.
question. Which sister are you guys? Do you think?
Oh, we are. I know which sister Jess is, and she knows which sister I am.
But I don't
Yeah.
know. Tell me.
I am. She's very Piper.
And she's
Okay.
very Phoebe.
Very.
I was about to say. I feel like the it's coming out with the guys you find hot. You find the guys Phoebe finds hot. You
Oh,
are
please.
judgmental the same way Piper would be judgmental. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, it's so true though, because she's such a like different mindset. Like we have such different mindsets on things, and it's really funny because like that's kind of what makes us work so well. And I always think like, yeah, of the sisters, like she is Piper and I am most definitely Phoebe. Like
And do you is there a Prue in your family? Because how many sisters do you have? Like you have like 6 more.
we've got 3 more sisters. I don't think there really is a Prue.
If there was anyone, I'd say Ash is the most Prue.
Yeah, I would say at best probably. I think Caitlyn is the most Piper. You are very similar to Piper in a lot of ways, like mentality wise, but you're also not the mediator.
Yeah.
You don't have that middle child thing, you have in that way you're more like a Prue where you're like, oh, I'm gonna do what I want, like
Yeah, because I
like,
do
you know what I
still
mean?
have that oldest sister energy.
Exactly.
I
Like you're
am shocked because
mixture.
you really, Jess, you really give me like mediator vibes. I feel like you would be good in that role, and maybe if you got promoted to that role, I think you'd shine.
I think that if she was born a middle sister, then she totally would have that mediator role. But since she was born the oldest, she's got that personality without actually ever having to have taken on that role,
Yeah.
I get that. But so are you boss? Yeah, you like bossing the whole sister clan around?
She's the like leader of the pack. Like if we're doing something, Jess is the one that's like, all right, I got it all planned out. Like we're gonna do this, then we're gonna go here, we're gonna do this, whatever. And the rest of us are kind of just like, oh, okay.
But I feel
Yeah, like I
Prue is-
planned our entire vacation this summer.
Yeah, like that's just that Jess
But I-
is
but
very
I
much
feel
that
like-
person.
But I feel like Prue is organized in that way. So I see how you can say she's like Prue, but not full Prue. I get it. I get it.
Right. She's literally the perfect mix of
Prue-like.
Prue and Piper.
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 Prooper.
Piper.
Prooper.
Prooper.
We all love little Prooper.
Little Prooper. Little Prooper Sabanko. But anyways, back to this.
The hot cop.
Yeah, the hot cop. I love like Lukas and him here and that whole dynamic between them. Lukas kind of annoying and gross and I can't stand him, but like the cop I like, so it makes him seem a lot better.
It's really just instigating us so we can get to the next scene.
Pretty
honestly.
much. Yeah, it's another one of those.
Totally. Moving the plot forward.
Exactly.
Mhm. So then we're in the manor in the attic. It's nighttime. Prue's going through the book and can't find anything. And she starts like disparaging their ancestors for not being better witches. And Piper is soaking her feet in this like massager and wearing a feather robe. And Phoebe's laying in a chair with her eyes closed, apparently having visions of Officer Cutie and using a button from his shirt to get these visions. Prue closes the book and is so annoyed with her sister. She's like, I'll save the innocents, I'll vanquish the demons, and if I feel like it, maybe when I'm done, I'll save you guys. And Phoebe's like, don't do us any favors. And Piper's like, yeah, Prue, worry about yourself. Then she knocks a lamp into the foot pool and goes flying back onto the floor. And Prue runs over to her. Piper's kind of like, what happened? I feel strange. And Prue's like, well, if you'd had both feet in the water, you wouldn't feel anything. But Phoebe's not paying any attention to this. She's still focused on the button. And Prue helps Piper up, and then we hear the doorbell ring. Prue asks who it is, and Phoebe looks out the window and sees that it's Officer Cutie and starts yelling down to him, and she's like leaning too far forward and almost falls out the window, but Prue pulls her back in. Then Phoebe starts running towards the stairs, and Piper's like, Prue, we just have different priorities than you do. You need a little pick-me-up. How about I buy you some shoes? And Piper leaves, and Prue just looks super annoyed.
Yeah, again, I feel like this is another one kind of pushing through. Piper and Phoebe still just being very distracted and not helpful at all. And then, you know, kind of pushing that idea of like, oh, they're close to self-destruction because they keep almost hurting themselves. And Prue just still being so annoyed with the fact that she like has to deal with all this.
Yes, definitely. And I think we're seeing that like pride is kind of the one sin that won't distract you from your work, right?
Mhm.
And we'll talk more about that once they do the whole like exposition of what happened to Prue in this episode later on. But
Right.
it's definitely something I'm already picking up on here.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's almost like all the other sins takes you away from your life because you go down like this K-hole of like rabbit hole of like your sins, where
Right.
like pride almost makes you so ambitious that you lose sight of the rest of your life because you're like, I have one goal and I'm gonna achieve that goal,
Yeah,
and makes you very annoying.
it
I said
does.
it. Prideful people annoy the fuck out of me.
Yes, they I think we all can agree on that.
Yeah.
So now downstairs in the entryway, Phoebe opens the door for Officer Cutie, and she's like, I knew you'd come back for me. And he says this isn't a social call. And he grabs her and she like gets excited about it and then asking about like if he has his handcuffs and thinks that they're role playing. And then he pulls out his gun and points it at her and asks about the pastor. And she gets really serious and says she doesn't know where he is. Then he throws her across the room and says that she's lying. And he starts yelling and breaking things and then points the gun at her, and she like begs him not to shoot. Then Piper walks down the stairs and screams. She's like, "Oh, my stuff, it's broken." And then she freezes him, but he shakes his head and like fights through the freeze. Then he shoots up towards her and hits the bird decoration. Then Piper's like, "Why are my powers not working?" And Phoebe tackles the officer before he can try to shoot Piper again. And a shot goes off into the lamp, and then Piper falls down the stairs and she knocks into something, and it like domino affects a bunch of shit in the room to fall over with one giant box landing on top of her. And she crawls out from under it and notices Phoebe laying on the floor passed out. And then the officer gets up and Prue comes down the stairs. Then the officer has the gun and is like freaking out and like going to try to shoot himself. And then Prue uses her power to throw a bunch of stuff at him until he gets knocked out. Then she looks at Piper and Phoebe right as Lukas teleports in behind her and grabs her, saying, "You can't save what's already lost." And then he teleports out with her.
So,
Nice little fight scene with Officer Cutie.
yeah, we have a lot of
Yeah.
danger. We have a suicide attempt, a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, it's
I was gonna ask,
interesting.
I'm reading the notes right now. Did you write Officer Cutie? Because I feel like there's no way Jess would have written that.
That's what Phoebe referred
That's
to
what
him
she's
as, so I
referring to
changed
him
it to
as.
his name after she said it because we don't have an
That makes-
actual name for him.
That makes so much more sense. Gotcha. They don't even
I
give
don't.
him a
I didn't
name,
write
they
these
just-
notes.
Okay. Because you just have like a twinkle in your eye every time you say Officer Cutie, and I'm like, screw this.
Twinkle in your eye. Great.
Okay. Love a fight scene. Charm fight scenes are insane. I don't know like how it felt during the time period of like 2000-ish when people were watching this, but as somebody with 2023 vision on, it's just hilarious because the choreograph is like always out of whack, and the special effects are always just like, I
Half
could make that on
subpar.
iMovie. Yeah, I could make that on iMovie.
Yeah. And because it wasn't shot to be watched in high definition, the stunt doubles are so fucking obvious sometimes.
Yeah, they're so bad sometimes, and it's really funny when we notice those things. It just makes it even better of like a shitty drama kind of vibe, and I love it.
Yeah, it makes me laugh, and I love unintentional comic relief when I'm watching anything.
Yes.
Me too.
And-
That's the
and
best
that's-
kind.
And that scene, I feel like provided me a lot of unintentional comic relief because I can't take Officer Cutie seriously. I'm sorry, I just can't. He's too cute to be serious.
Agreed. But yeah, no, all that whole little fight scene worked for me, and of course Piper still being focused on all her stuff was kind of funny.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
handcuffs, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you
Topping
know,
on the cake.
kind of like Prue being worried about them, but then Lukas coming in and taking her. So, what's going to
She
happen to
can't-
her sisters?
Right. Now the three worst ones who can't seem to get a hold of themselves are all alone to fend for themselves. So let's see how that goes.
And now that we're getting to the ending, I just have to give one little spoiler thing. This is the most like fuzzy I felt about an ending. Normally, with the way Charm ends, I'm always like, "Oh, they wrapped it all up. Makes sense. End of story." But the way we're about to wrap this up, like, I have questions for you guys. Hopefully, you guys can answer my questions.
You got it.
Yeah, we'll
Bring
see if
them
we
on as we
can.
go. Yeah.
So then we're in the entryway a little bit later, and Piper's kneeling by Phoebe and like checking her pulse. We see that Phoebe's bleeding, and Piper starts calling for Leo. Then she like tries to get up and walk up the stairs, but she's like really struggling and still calling for Leo. Then we get to the bedroom where Leo's passed out, looking really rough. He like grew a beard in a day. And Piper's like trying to walk over to him and telling him to get up. And then she falls and knocks a bunch of stuff off the dresser. And the noise finally wakes up Leo. And he sees her and runs over to her and kneels next to her. And when he does, he like glows and we see the sin ball fly out of him. And he goes back to looking normal, like he's shaved, he looks clean again. And he asks where she's hurt, and she tells him that he needs to go to Phoebe first and find Prue because the demon took her. Then Piper glows, and the sin ball goes out of her, and he tells her that she glowed, and she asks if he healed her, and he says not yet, and then he heals her. And he says that they got rid of the sins, and that maybe by being selfless, by her caring more about her sisters and him caring more about her, they overcame it. And she says, well, that means Phoebe must have gotten rid of her sin too, because she risked her life to save me. And they both get up and run out.
I love that. We figured out the way to get rid of them. And honestly, it works for me because it's not a magical solution. Like they said, it can't be done that way because sin is a part of everybody. You can't just get rid of it like that. So them doing something selfless and overcoming their sins works for me.
That part works for me, and I really appreciated like the whole like selfless things. I'm like, oh, I feel like the Bible would appreciate this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's an omen to
religious.
God.
But also it's funny that like even though Piper's being like, oh, you have to go save Phoebe first, you have to go save Phoebe first, like Leo still heals Piper first.
Yeah. That's sweet
Well,
of him.
well, that's his girl. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm all for that, and I feel like that speaks to his character. I'm like, this
Yeah,
is a
I would-
guy, and I feel like as a sibling to Piper, they would appreciate that. Appreciate that because that's like the man they would want their sister to be with, someone to take care of them first, even if it's a life death apocalyptic situation with some creepy looking dude who can give the 7 deadly sins to the world. I don't know.
Exactly.
You always put
Perfect.
your girl first. That's true partnership.
I
FTL for the
respect
ladies.
that. It's what I'm looking for. So then we move downstairs and Phoebe is passed out and Leo and Piper kneel next to her and then they heal her, or he heals her, and she wakes up and asks what Leo's doing up and he says fixing you. And then she asks about Prue and Piper says that they need to find her and say that she's in big trouble. Dun dun dun. And
Dun dun dun.
push and plot a little here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we go to Lucas's place and we see Prue's like tied to a pole. And Lucas is saying, you think you can break free, but you can't. See, that's what makes pride the deadliest of all sins. It makes you think that you're invincible, above it all. You have only a small window of opportunity to save your life before it's too late. And Prue says, no demon has defeated me, and you won't be the first. He says, I don't have to defeat you. You're going to defeat yourself. And he starts giving some exposition and then offers her a deal. He says, we both know that you safeguarded the pastor, which means that I can't deliver his soul. But this late in the game, I'm willing to pay for it. Tell me where the pastor is and I'll remove your sin. She says, go to hell. He says, this is my hell. Every rotten day of it. Listen, I am giving you a chance to save your life, Prue, to end your hell. She says, if you remove my sin, you'll still be one soul short. He says, that's true, but once expunged, I can use the sin again. And she says that she's not going to let him infect another innocent. He grabs this staff and like opens the bottomless pit of endless torment. And it literally looks like it's Party City in there. Like it's
I
not
know,
very good
The
looking.
the skeleton masks, like plastic, was killing me here.
I love that description. Party City. I couldn't say it better myself.
Seriously.
So then he asks her to make a decision and she tells him to untie her and he does it and asks where the pastor is. She says, you lose, I win, and jumps into the pit, just as her sisters and Leo walk in. And Leo orbs into the pit to go get her. And Lucas is like, why did she have to have pride? Pride is the one sin you can't beat. And Piper's like, beat this. And he turns and she freezes him. And they look down at the pit and see orbs coming out. And Prue and Leo appear and she's like fighting him and saying that she can handle it. And Leo's like, I was saving you. She's like, saving me? I had it under control. I didn't need your help. And Phoebe's like, right. Then Piper says, it looks like the only way to get the pride out of Prue is to vanquish him. So Phoebe grabs the box of sin balls and opens it and throws them all at him. And he unfreezes and explodes and goes into the pit. And then the ball comes out of Prue and goes into the box, and two more appear. So we realize all the innocents are okay. Then she throws the box into the pit, and Prue grabs the staff and closes it. Then Phoebe notices a crystal and asks if it's another sin ball, but Leo doesn't think so, and Phoebe realizes it must be the businessman's soul. So Leo orbs away to go release it, and Prue says, we sure showed that demon. And they look at her and she says, okay, you guys sure showed that demon. And Piper says, thank you. She says, so I guess I needed you guys a lot more than you needed me. And Phoebe says, no, we all needed each other. Piper says, I don't like this humble Prue. I want my real sister back. And Phoebe says, me too. And then Prue starts listing all the things she did right, and they like turn away from her and like roll their eyes and walk out.
They're like, she's back.
Okay, I know you just read verbatim what happened. I still don't understand that ending. I don't understand how, like, why he let her go. She was like, let me go. And he was like, okay. And then she was like, haha, I'm jumping in now. And then I'm sorry, I don't, and then like they use the sin balls to throw at him and like he explode. I don't like, can someone just explain how this made sense?
So I think that the whole untying him, I don't know, what was he saying? That
He was kind of
if
like,
he takes
oh,
you
like,
if you take me to the pastor, then I will like whatever, let you go, or like get rid of the sins. So he was like, this is your choice, like either I throw you in there or like you take me to him. She was like, okay, untie me and like we'll go, or like I'll tell you where he is. And then so he does, but then her jumping into there is like, screw you, like I get to be the one in control of the situation and choose not to give you the pastor, and so like
either
I
way,
win.
she was gonna get thrown in there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
she had the control and was able to do it herself because that was her only out. And she was like fuck you, like you're not winning this battle against me, like I'm just gonna send it, you know.
Yeah, I still think like that wasn't, I don't, okay.
It's definitely a little bit, it's a little bit of a reach, but I kind of see where they're going with it.
I don't get it. You explained it, she explained it. I watched the episode twice. I don't get it.
Well,
Okay,
I
and
don't know.
then what happens when Leo comes? Like he goes down there and he saves her, but
Yeah,
she's
he
not
goes and gets her
saved.
out of there.
But she was like, "You didn't save me," and I was like, "Wait, but he did." I don't.
well, like she didn't want him to. She was like, I could have saved myself because of the pride.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense. That part makes sense. And then like, why does throwing 6 sins at him make him die?
Because no one can handle like all being taken over by all the sins at once.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like, you know how like when they're infected with one, it pretty quickly leads to their self-destruction. So when you were infected with that many, it's like immediate self-destruction.
Yeah.
Which then why didn't the demon just hit somebody with all 7? I don't know.
That's what I was thinking too. Like she would have gotten all the souls easily.
But also I think he
Yeah.
very specifically needs 7 souls, right? So I guess that's why.
Oh yeah.
I also don't understand his end game. Like, what was he gonna do with the 7 souls?
Maybe he was going to give them to the source. Like, we really don't get a clear answer on that.
Like, yeah, I don't understand his motive.
There's obviously some sort of higher up that he brings them to.
I think that maybe like he's collecting these souls in order to free himself, because he talks about how like he was sinful in life and then this is like his punishment. So maybe once he collects 7 souls, someone else has to take over the role as being like the infector and he can be like free.
See, I
Okay,
I
there's a
can
good
dig that.
idea.
I dig that. Can we just say that's what we're going for? Because if now I kind of understand the creepy dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can give ourselves we could create our own solutions to these plot holes. All right, we do it all the time, so we'll go
Prue
with
was
that.
being so me thinking Prue was dumb in that moment was dumb, right? I'm not like we're all on the
Yeah,
same.
no, like she was definitely acting completely out of pride. Like what she was doing
Exactly.
was completely illogical.
Just to win.
Okay, that
Right.
makes me feel better because when I watched it, I was like, "Am I dumb? Like why is Prue jumping down that death hole?"
Yeah. Party City.
Into Party City.
She needed to get some decorations.
I like this ending though. I like the way that, they're kind of like, oh, I don't like this humble Prue. Because at the end of the day, they love Prue for who she is, which is a little bit of an egotistical kind of girl.
Person. Yeah. And they kind of find that funny. Like that's her personality. They love that, you know. So now we move on to the final scene of the episode, and we're at P3 per usual. And this punk band is playing, and Piper's standing by the bar, and Prue walks over with 2 glasses of champagne. Piper says that she's abstaining, and then Prue tells her it's okay to indulge, just not overindulge. And then Piper says, I guess we can thank Lukas for teaching us anything in moderation. And Prue's like, hey, there was nothing that Lukas could teach me. And Piper's like, oh, really? And she's like, I'm doing it again, aren't I? That whole pride thing. I swear I'm working on it. She said, here's one thing I'm willing to admit I don't understand. You, Phoebe, and Leo were all able to get rid of your sins with a selfless act. I committed many selfless acts. Why did I have to wait for Lukas to be vanquished to get rid of my pride? And Piper says, well, Lukas said that pride was the one sin you can't beat. I think that what he meant was that there's no such thing as a selfless act to pride. And Prue says, I threw myself into the pit for the pastor. And she's like, yeah, but you did that to win. So any good you did during your prideful state was for the greater glory of Prue. And she's like, all right, fine. Then here's to Leo for saving me from eternal torment. And Piper says, and to me for not trying to be the perfect couple. If it isn't good enough for them, then screw them. And they clink their glasses and drink. Then Phoebe walks over super happy, telling them that she's excited, but not in a sexual way. She says, recent events inspired me to write a paper on sexual politics, claiming that my indiscretion with Professor Cass was an ethical experiment. So I hand the paper in today, and I got a B. And I will be able to graduate, and no man, not even Cole, is going to stand in my way. Then Piper congratulates her, and Prue says that she's proud. And then Phoebe's like, oh, and coming from you? And then Prue's like, hey, be nice. I didn't even want to think about sin tonight. She's like, me neither. Then Prue asks Piper about the band, and we find out that it's called Orgy. And that's how this episode ends. Absolutely love that.
I love that these girls know how to wrap up an episode and like tie all the cute little themes together and to be like the moral of the story is
Yeah, I
not
know.
to- and I want to ask you guys if this was a Charmed episode, what would be the moral of the story of this podcast? How would you wrap this thing up?
Moral of the story, Joey is never allowed to read lines again.
Yes. And if Alyssa Milano ever hears this, she'll file a restraining order against me.
So yeah, I mean, they really, really hit us over the head with the message here. We don't even have to talk about Prue's lesson because Piper explained it to us fully.
Yeah, the exposition fully told us any questions that you could. If you have any questions left, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
No
Because
questions.
Piper just let it all out.
Up.
She put it all on the table.
Yes. And I really love, Phoebe's graduating, so that's exciting. That's a little movement forward for her character.
Yeah. I'm very happy for her.
And the little, comedic ending with the band called Orgy when the episode's about sin.
Yeah. All around.
Perfect. I love that they ended so many episodes at that bar with like music, and I'm always like, at least they're drinking, having fun, just girls being girls.
It's always how they do it.
Yep.
Most endings.
Kind of like us right
like
now.
that.
We're just 3 girls being girls right now.
Pretty much.
Yep,
And
exactly.
we all got musical stuff going on. I got a Grateful Dead shirt. You got a Blink-182 shirt. You got Rolling Stones in the background.
I got a bunch of music shit on there. I got Foo Fighters. I got Nirvana.
Yeah, we're basically
Rolling
having
Stones.
a music orgy too. Like we're all just like the Hallowells.
Exactly. Just like them, I'd say.
Exactly. So, final thoughts on the episode?
I thought it was great. I mean, we've known this from the start of the show that I've always said the Sin episode is like one of my all-time favorites and always will be. And I don't know why I love it so much. I just do. So those are my final thoughts.
I am so honored that I was a guest on one of your favorite episodes. Season 3 is my favorite season. I think like this is like a perfect season because I
I
feel
think
like
a lot of
season
people feel
1,
that way.
like they're like learning their powers. Season 2, they're like we're figuring it out, and in season 3, they're like, yeah, we have powers, etc. Let's have fun now.
Right.
Yeah.
And in this episode, I don't want to make myself sound even more creepy than I've already sounded, but for obvious reasons, this is one of my all-time favorite episodes, and I'm just so happy that I was able to really let loose and just indulge. You guys indulged me a lot on this, so I'm just so thankful to be a part of this.
Good.
Oh.
I'm glad. I hope that you had a good time on it because I mean, this has been fun, I think.
Yeah,
Oh my
no,
God,
I had a really great time here.
So I don't want to keep you guys any more longer. I'm just so happy that you guys had me. This is the most fun I've had on a podcast. I love talking charm. Well, the last thing I want to say before I go is that if anyone's listening to this podcast, thought I was funny and I wanted to figure out where this weird zany dude is, you can catch me on Instagram at the Joey Rinaldi, where I promote a lot of comedy shows, and I actually have a really big show on November 5th. My storytelling show, Bad Trip, is actually going to be a part of the New York Comedy Festival at QED in Astoria, and it's going to be one of our best shows ever with one of the best lineups. And we even may have one or two surprise celebrity guests coming on the show. Who knows?
Ooh, awesome.
All right.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. If you want to reach out to us or follow us on social media, we're on Instagram and TikTok at rewitched_pod. Or you can send us an email to rewitched.pod@gmail.com. Also, if you would like to subscribe to our Patreon, we have several monthly tiers available at patreon.com/rewitchedpodcast. Either way, we appreciate you listening and hope you'll join us back next time for Season 3, Episode 19, The Demon Who Came In From the Cold.